What is going on YouTube? Nexus TV back again in another video. Before we get into episode 1 of Aqua and the Heat Seeker, I want to point out a detail about one of the characters that you guys may or may not notice in the episode. When Hiro Kasai first made his debut in the MCU in the Lance series in 2021, his last name wasn't Kasai, it was Stajan. And I don't know why I gave him that last name, but I did. And I ended up retconning his last name to Kasai during Hiro's appearance in Force 25 Season 1 during 2022. No, sorry, 2023. You guys will notice, though, his original last name will appear in this episode. This isn't a separate timeline. This isn't the different Earth. This is still 616 MCU. And the only thing that's different is just the retcon of his name. Without further ado, let's get into Aqua and the Heat Seeker Episode 1, Heroes Out of Stock. Act 1, Flicker. It has been 2 years since the finger snapped heard around the world, which caused the disappearance of exactly 50% of life on this planet. A Detroit newswoman says with an energetic but depressed tone. Yeah, 2 years since the Avengers failed to save half the world, a man says from his laptop's video screen. You know when the snap happened? My wedding day. My wife vanished. Turned to dust as I tried to put on the ring. The man says, sounding to be on the verge of tears. The newswoman somberly nods along as she hears this. An 18-year-old Hiro Kasai sits at his family home in Novi, Michigan. The night falls around him, and the headlights of the cars dance around the streets. The young Japanese man walks down the stairs into his living room, before going directly to his family's garage. The garage has been turned into something of a workshop by his father. His mother is dismayed by the change, but Hiro only saw the opportunity when it happened. The young man runs his hand along the wall, feeling for the light switch, and when he finds it, he flicks it up. Let there be light, he says, as he briskly walks toward a bin that sits under a long work table. Hiro pulls the bin out, and unclasps the lid, and his eyes are greeted by something that he'd been working on for months. The costume of a hero that he had only recently decided to call the Heat Seeker. In the world where he currently was living, heroes were out of stock. However, the young man wanted to change that. Act 2, Night Out. Hiro suits up, strapping everything together and putting it on. His main weapons, 2 miniature blowtorches mounted to his wrists, fit snugly, as he places his hand on a pair of goggles on his table. Bringing the goggles to his face, Hiro looks as if he's thinking about something, like the danger that awaits in the streets. However, he slides the goggles on and flicks open the door switch on his garage. His parents were on a night out, and Hiro was about to be as well. The Heat Seeker patrols the streets, listening for the police chatter whenever the scanner started to pick up activity. However, he's nervous. He had trained for months for this exact thing, ever since he heard that the metal spider had disappeared in New York. But regardless, he still didn't feel ready. The Heat Seeker has to immediately put this thought aside as the scanner comes through crisp and clear. We've got an assault. Possibly a domestic abuse situation on Stajan Avenue. Hiro's face changes to a look of determination, and he immediately makes his way to the scene. A few minutes later, Hiro arrives across the street. He stares studiously at the house for a moment, before looking up and down the street and running over to the house. As the Heat Seeker gets close, he can hear shouting accompanied by things falling and glass breaking inside the house. He stays low and moves quickly to a window that he notices has no curtains in front of it. Taking a deep breath, Hiro peeks inside, seeing an angry man wielding a handgun of some kind. Seemingly drunk, glaring at a woman who has backed herself into a corner. She's bruised, but she's wielding a knife. Hiro knows who would come out alive if things went wrong any further, so he quickly created a plan. The Heat Seeker slowly moves toward the door and begins to pick at the lock. Just then, the shouting begins again, causing Hiro to panic. Come on, I gotta hurry, Hiro whispers to himself. Finally, he manages to pry the lock open with a click. He's relieved only for a second, but he sets part 2 of his plan in motion. As the shouting continues inside the house, the man raises his gun. But right before he fires, he hears a knock at the door. A soft knock. What the hell? Did you call the police on me? The man screams. The woman doesn't say anything, as the man glares at her and walks through the door. The Heat Seeker blasts the metal doorknob with his blowtorch, causing it to heat up. If Hiro had to guess, the heat of the doorknob was about 300 Fahrenheit at this point. The man grabs the knob and turns it, but immediately recoils and backs away as he feels the hot temperature scald his hand. The woman takes the opportunity and runs at him with a knife. However, just then, Hiro kicks in the door, causing the door to fly back and hit the woman in the face. The heat seeker steps into the house, as the man looks at Hiro with eyes of rage, confusion, and surprise. He raises his gun as he begins to demand Hiro to tell him who he is. However, Hiro sticks to his training and what he knows. The heat seeker manages to knock the gun away, but not before a stray shot narrowly misses him. He's shaken for a second, but the man who had begun to sober up took this opening, shoving the heat seeker back into the porch. As the heat seeker looks up at the man staggers forward. But when Hiro sees the stability of the man's legs, he kicks at one of them and quickly stands up. The man drops down as he grabs his shin in pain, but as he looks up at Hiro, he's immediately knocked out. Hiro looks down at the man as he shakes his fist off. He heads inside the house and looks at the woman as well. She was knocked out the second the door hit her. Hiro stands amongst the two people for a second, seemingly lost in thought again, before suddenly hearing police sirens drive toward the house. This is the heat seeker's cue to leave. Hiro runs through the house, dodging turned over furniture, loose food, and broken pieces of glass, before busting through the back door and running off.